This is the time that comes every year when I give my divine dispensation for the coming year, speaking revelation, prophecy of a special gift that I bring to the planet and share with humanity, a way to not only align with divine will for creation and for humanity's unfoldment and burgeoning age of enlightenment, but also how to be able to receive and integrate the most amount of light and achieve the most spiritual growth, expansion of consciousness, transformation, healing, materialization, manifestation in your life. And so by receiving these hopefully pearls of wisdom and implementing them in your lives in the various ways I'll describe, it really, really will create a lot more ease, grace, and flow in your life, and it will put you on the leading edge of what you will see happening in the world. It'd be like riding the wave rather than having it crash on you on the beach, or riding a horse rather than being dragged by it. That's the experience that you can have by really attuning to this and implementing it in the ways I might describe, and others that will come to you. So we're now completing, in the next 30 minutes, we're completing 2019, which has been the year of focus. And we just spent some time here at the retreat reviewing what that year was about, and people, certain individuals, looking at how they experienced 2019 in the year of focus, and what they did and didn't do, and how that played out in their lives. So now, looking forward, and just to recap briefly, that year of focus, what I had suggested to people was that they spend a lot of time on the earth. And the reason I'm going to recap it is because this is something that's important to keep doing, because some of the things I'm going to describe for the coming year still could benefit greatly and will benefit greatly by continuing these practices in your life. It's ever increasingly important to continue in this vein. So I'll recap a few of those suggestions for 2019. And some of you may have already been doing these things, and if you have been and are, great. If you haven't been, I cannot recommend strongly enough that you do. You'll find tremendous help and assistance in your life by so doing. A couple of those things are spending a lot more time on the earth, perhaps doing your meditations on occasion on the earth, sitting right on the bare earth if you can, spending time barefoot when obviously it's feasible without damaging your feet, spending time taking walks in nature, spending more time with animals, and going out into the wilderness, or at least as natural a setting as you can. Some people in urban areas, if you don't have the time or money or facility to get out into the wilds of nature, at least go to the city parks. Just get earth time however you can. Meditate with your back against a tree. Sit and watch sunrises and sunsets. Just take in that energy. Another important part, and I was talking about eating a lot of roots and vegetables, and particularly root plants that really anchor you and ground you and help create focus and clarity. Another really powerful tool is to clean house, in terms of not only creating grace and sacred space with cleanliness and orderliness, but also simplify the boxes and boxes you have stored in closets and garages. Go through some or most or all of them and let go of stuff. Give stuff to thrift stores, to charities, to the poor, to friends and loved ones. Simplify your lives so it creates opening for new energy to come in, to get greater clarity, because clutter creates chaos, which creates dross and maya, and it acts like filters, that block the reception of divine light, divine attunement and inspiration and messages. So the more you can streamline, clean, clarify, simplify your lives, you'll create greater attunement, you'll create greater simplicity, greater and more profound connection to the divine, which is critically important, and now more so than ever. So that's what this year has been about. And if you've done a lot of that, awesome. If you haven't, please start implementing that. Now, before I give the dispensation and my reasons for it, let me give you a little bit of revelation and prophecy about what I see to be happening in this coming year. Like in this year, and in with exponential increase year after year after year, I have described for probably 20 years now how, contrary to what most spiritual teachers are saying, that about it's all coming together as one, it's all one, it's all one, it's actually been the exact opposite. What's been happening in the world is that the polarity is getting wider and wider. That whole it's all one theory that there's going to be some poof and everyone's in the fifth dimension is, works well in theory, but it's actually not what's happening. And the reason that it's the opposite of that is what's happening is that the polarity is getting wider is because of the inherent, intrinsic, and continued willfulness, defiance, and disobedience in human consciousness. And again, I'm not pointing a finger at the collective. It happens to be so in the collective, but it's because so many individuals make it collective. So again, it's really important to avoid the, everyone and everything, and it's in the collective, so we can just sit around and wait. That waiting for Godot, if you're waiting for Godot, waiting for something to come, you're going to miss everything. Nothing is coming, ever. So the polarity is getting wider because humanity is still living in, for the most part, more than the collective critical mass, is living in abject defiance and willfulness, selfishness and greed. Even though the awakening on the planet is getting bigger and bigger, faster and faster, more people are having awakenings, younger people are now even coming in fully awakened and not going through the kind of separation and madness and getting lost in life like a lot of people my age and 40s, 50s, 60s and older went through. It's a very different species now, where teenagers now are wide awake and they're now claiming, they're claiming the truth, and they're holding these righteous principles of truth and honesty and integrity and demanding it of the adult population. And they are going to be the ones to affect change because they're not having it any other way. So jumping ahead here. So what you're going to see happening is this year, like last year, but even more so, there's going to be, you saw a massive increase in the widening of polarity last year. The increase in the effects of global warming were catastrophic last year, probably 3, 4, 5 times the year before. That's going to double or triple this year. So in terms of earthquakes, volcanoes, snowstorms, deserts, droughts, floods, it's going to look like the 10 Commandments next year compared to last year. I'm not being a doomsayer, I'm simply speaking facts. It's because of the willfulness that will not break. Remember, there's a fulcrum here. God's will is always achieved everywhere at all times. So there's a fulcrum. Where humanity creates more surrender, the earth has to do less on our behalf. When humanity is more willful and defiant, saying, F you, God, don't tell me what to do, I'll do what I want, the earth has to engage on our behalf. And that's the reason for it. It's not because there's darkness winning. It's because so many people are still saying, no, I will not give up my fight. I'm going to win this and I'm going to do what I want. Don't tell me what to do is the mission statement of the ego. Whereas the mission statement of the soul is, how may I serve you, Lord? So because that is so heavy, the earth has to increase so that God's will can be achieved, and the burgeoning transition and incoming infusions of light can continue, and the vibration of the planet can raise. But humanity is in charge of that. So when I say humanity, I mean every individual. Don't wait for humanity. There's no such thing as humanity. There's no such thing as the collective. There's only you. You're the only person on the planet. So adopt the it's all up to me principle, the power of one. Look at the impact Jesus had, Moses had, Gandhi had, Mother Teresa had, the power of one. So adopt that, it's all up to me. You be the change. and look in your life where you could become more surrendered, more obedient, more subservient, that will turn the tides. And that is actually what's going to make the change in governments, the change in the people who wield the earthly power, and I underscore the word earthly, to make those changes and do what's needed to help the planet and the environment. You're also going to see the polarity widen exponentially again in terms of shifts in power, abuses of power, schisms and dichotomies in governments, warring factions. I mean, the ensuing madness is going to be more and more and more until more individuals, and I underscore individuals, and that means you as one human being, say it's up to me and I will make these changes in my life. Please don't point at others and don't point at presidents and kings and governments. Just look in the mirror and make changes in yourself to become more kind, more loving, more serving, more surrendered, and that will turn the tides. But in the meantime, because that hasn't been the case, even though it's increasing, it has not been increasing fast enough according to the divine blueprint, what was written on the heavens for the arc of transformation, if that makes any sense, because everything is written in the heavens. So, because of that, what I have chosen and created for my dispensation for this year to help turn the tides and to help accelerate the path of grace is to proclaim 2020 as the year of beauty. And what I'm inviting each of you to do and how to implement that in your lives is to create beauty in the world on many, many levels. The first and foremost, I know your minds go to the obvious, but the most important one is the beauty inside you. Do what you need to do, whatever it takes, however much it costs, whatever you have to sacrifice, whatever vacations you have to give up or other projects to get the healing you need. Heal those childhood wounds. Get the therapist, the mentors, the shaman, the whomever you need. Open the dungeon doors and face your demons and get healed so you'll stop projecting and blaming and walking through the world like a tight clenched fist, angry and blaming everyone, but not looking in the mirror to be accountable. So make that your single highest priority, is doing the things that are necessary to create the inner beauty, which is the burgeoning and increasing self-love. Then also creating beauty in your exterior. Maintaining good hygiene, showering and grooming, and I don't mean from a false place of trying to impress people. It's by recognizing that your physical body is the temple that houses your immortal soul. So it's an act of reverence to God, not an act of getting laid or impressing someone or looking good or looking rich or looking like you're fashionable or trendy. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about coming from a place of such ineffable gratefulness for, thank you, God, for putting a breath in my body and putting me on this world. And I want to show you how much I appreciate the temple you gave me called my body. And I'm going to do more than I've ever done to take care of it, to show how grateful I am that I'm alive and that I have a temple housing my immortal soul. So take better care of your hygiene. Present yourself better in public. Keep your teeth clean, your breath fresh. Keep yourself groomed. Because a lot of the slovenly way people drag themselves around is anger, it's depression, it's spite, and that's unkind, it's non-loving, and it does not sow seeds of love. So that's another form of beauty. Again, first and foremost is creating more self-love and beauty within. Secondly, the beauty in your external presentation in the world. And then thirdly, of course, how you can become the magic wand to spread beauty in the world. My motto in life that I strive to my best of my ability to live, and I teach and ask others to do the same, is strive in all your 4 levels of creation: thought, feelings, words, and deeds. Strive to always leave a trail of rose petals behind you, not a trail of debris. So if you're going to use your mouth, use it to speak only love. If you have nasty things to say about someone else, just write it down and burn it and offer it to God and the universe. Use your mouth as an instrument of love. Use your hands never to strike a human being or an animal or a plant or any living creature. Take on these things. And again, some of you may think, duh, that's simple, that's a no-brainer. But if you think about it, how many people live that on all 4 levels of creation, that you only think, feel, speak, love, and act love all the time? That's your goal. That's your mission statement. And that is a way of creating beauty in the world. Moving into greater service, helping other people, reach out, share more, give more, offer rides, offer to help people out, help people with their kids, help people who are sick, help people who are in need, and don't wait to be asked. Become proactive. Just become more inclusive, become more selfless. The meaning of life is to be in service to a purpose which is greater than the self. One of the reasons the polarity is so wide, and one of the reasons there's so much suffering and madness, is because there's so much selfishness and greed. Make your life this year more than ever before. And again, those of you who live that way, awesome. Do more of it. Become more giving. Adopt the practice of tithing, which is a universal law. Adopt the practice of charity, of helping others in need, like in the ways that I said, and find and create ways in your own life. Be that person that others can depend on. Be that person who's ready to offer a helping hand. When you go places, pick up trash when you walk around. It doesn't have to be a project. It doesn't have to be, overpowering. But, when I have a saying that God has no hands but yours. God can't reach down and pick trash up off the street. He needs your hands. So when you step over trash, you might as well have thrown it, because God has no hands but yours. Now, doesn't mean obsess about it and think, oh, Louis said I have to pick up every single piece of trash I see anywhere in the world. I'm not saying that. I'm saying become more cognizant, become more aware of these principles. So instead of none of the time, make it some of the time. If you do it, 2 times out of 10, make it 4, make it 6. If you do it 8 times out of 10, make it 9. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about being paranoid or obsessive. I'm talking about expansion, becoming more selfless, and this helps create more beauty. And the more you do that, the more you transmute on a global scale, and the more you create and engender that 100th monkey principle. When you start doing it, others start doing it. They see you, and it just spreads and spreads. And then what happens is, when it reaches collective critical mass, and it does, I'm oversimplifying here, but it does, then what happens is inventions all of a sudden get discovered. The invention for cleaning oil spills will appear. Someone will receive it from the heavens, and it will appear. An invention to, or a statewide or a federal policy of recycling will become law rather than, suggested. The use of disposable plastics will be replaced by compostable. And I don't mean biodegradable, because everyone thinks they're the same. They're not the same. Making plastics into plastics now that break into little pieces is worse than non-biodegradable plastic, because now it goes into plants and animals eat it, and then we eat the animals and we end up ingesting it. But making disposable plastics out of compostable, out of corn husks and soy plants and wheat chaff and things like that that'll just decompose. Those things will start happening more and more. It's all tied together because it's all one. We're all inextricably tied together. So this year of beauty, like I said to the group before we went live on the broadcast, when I first speak it, some of you think, well, duh, that's so simple. It's actually so powerful you can't even begin to conceive of the amount and the impact of transmutation that will happen by so doing. Swear to God, you mark my words. So get behind this. I'm going to give you a talisman to use. There's a beautiful crystal that not only is an embodiment of beauty, but it harnesses more powerfully than any other crystal the energies of the angelic realm, and the angels are just so powerful in their often silent and invisible presence of how they move mountains and steer us into things that we need and away from things we don't. There's such a guiding light and force in our lives. And so I'm gifting this stone this year of celestite, which is the stone of the angelic realm, And as you can see, it's quite beautiful with its powdery baby blue color. This is just, it emanates, it calls forth the full power of the angelic realm, and it emanates such beauty and grace in the world. So have that as a sacred talisman for claiming and anchoring this energy within you and helping to empower you to implement it and facilitate it in your life and in the world at large. Also, the fragrance of beautiful flowers, as you can see around me. We're in this botanical garden. It's a 50-acre horticultural garden. Everything you see around me, every single piece of green or color came off this property that was grown here. And on the property are some of the most fragrant, beautiful trees, the Michelia alba, the exotic Southeast Asian magnolia, which is, in my almost 60 years on Earth, I've been to 30 countries. I have yet to find a flower, it's actually right here, I have them all around me, that harnesses a higher vibration on the whole planet than this flower here. And then we have these angel trumpets, the brugmansias, all over the property. At nighttime, their scent amplifies. I chose this property because of that, because of the beauty and the grace that is here in this paradise, so that people would become so imprinted by it and so imbued with it that it would impregnate their cells and it would walk and move them independent of their conscious free will. And so that was part of the reason why I wove this all together. So incorporate more flowers in your life. Go to botanical gardens, walk in the parks, plant flowers in your yard, plant flowers where appropriate and legal in public places, and be that Johnny Appleseed, you know, and in friends' yards, and help friends with their landscaping and projects. Create that beauty, be that magic wand, you know, that fairy wand that just, like the fairy godmother in Cinderella, who just and create beauty. It's just amazing. You know, like the same with picking up the trash, you know, learn to appreciate flowers and their fragrances and their beauty and have them in their house. You don't have to spend tons of money. Pick up something small or a little potted thing just to have it around you. And the fragrance of rose and light florals like beronia and rose and some of these really sweet flowers. When you can, buy cut flowers, freesias and these tuberose and narcissus. Have that around you because it's an enchanting magic spell. It's very alchemical. So I've given you some seeds here and plenty to do. I'm telling you, the impact in your life and in the world will astound you. We're going to have, and you're going to also be offsetting and mitigating, meaning reducing some of this burgeoning and ever-increasing madness in the world that so many humans are insisting on having to happen. It doesn't have to be that way, but most of humanity, and by most I mean individuals, are still choosing it by that fight, that willfulness. So, you know, like they say in The Wizard of Oz, surrender Dorothy in the sky, you know. Call forth in your life, long for, ache for deeper surrender in your life and more subservience and obedience. Not just to your guru or to God, but to your employer, to your partner. Don't make it all lofty and spiritual and poetic. Put it on the playing field. Don't fight so much with your partners. Don't challenge authority so much. Don't talk back to the cops when they pull you over for a ticket. Become more obedient. When someone asks you to do something, if it's appropriate, then just do it and say thank you and just do it. Don't have so much flack and feedback and kickback. More obedience. We're going to take a very quick break right now, and then we're going to have our countdown and bring in the new year. It's only 5 minutes away or 4 minutes away. So we're going to bring in our toast. And so I say, beloveds, namaste. Let the magic let it begin and let it amplify 1,000-fold. And you be the instruments that will create that change through this magic and alchemy of being a wand of beauty in your life and in your world. And that will reduce what the path that the planet has been on with the widening polarity. Let's bring it back this way. All right, we'll be back for our countdown in a moment. Thank you, I love you, and have fun doing this. Namaste.